Bhagavate Vaya. So welcome dear devotees for our morning Bhagavatam sessions. We are reading from Canto number 1, chapter number 18. And today we are starting from text number 26. The title of the chapter is Parikshit Maharaj Cursed by a Brahmana Boy. I can read Sanskrit and who wants to read? Bimal Prabhu, if you can read English translation. Pratirudrendriya prana mano buddhim uparatam sthanatrayat param praptam brahma bhutam avikriyam.
Hare Krishna. Translation. The Muni's sense organs, breath, mind, and intelligence were all restrained from material activities, and he was situated in a trance, apart from the three, wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness, having achieved a transcendental position qualitatively equal with the Supreme Spirit. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, devotees. So welcome back to the mood of Srimad Bhagavatam. Mentally we will enter. Yesterday we saw, where were we in our yatra with the Srimad Bhagavatam? We were in the forest where Parikshit Maharaj was hunting, and he felt thirsty, he felt hungry, he felt fatigued, and then he was looking for a reservoir of water. We saw yesterday in text number 24 and 25 together, then how he was thirsty and looking for a reservoir of water. He reached Samika Rishi's ashram. And then when the king enters the ashram, the hermitage of the well-known Samika Rishi, he saw the sage was sitting silently with his eyes closed. So in our journey, we are entering into the hermitage of Samika Rishi ashram. So you can visualize Samika Rishi is sitting, meditating in a Dhyana, and it will come the description as well, how he was sitting, and Parikshit Maharaj reaches to that ashram. So now from the Naimisharanya forest, we are in the ashram of Samika Rishi. It is mentioned here in this verse, the sage was in deep yogic trance. क्या लिखा है देखो, sense organs, breath, mind, intelligence, everything was restrained from the material activities. He was in a very deep dhyan yoga. And if you read the translation, when Samika Rishi was in a deep yogic trance, you can think what Prabhupada would write in the purport. क्या लिख सकता है? You can try to predict from the translation that Prabhupada purports में क्या लिख देंगे. What is there for us to learn from this? Prabhupada writes that there are three ways to attain Lord. Jnana Yoga, that is knowledge aspect, theoretical knowledge. Second one is Dhyana, which is the process of yoga. And the third one is Bhakti Yoga. So he picks up that how the yoga, Samika Rishi was sitting in a yogic trance or Dhyana Yoga. Prabhupada writes, yes, there are three processes one can attain Lord. Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. But Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga are very difficult. The most approved, most easy is Bhakti Yoga. Why it is most easy? Because we engage our senses in Bhakti Yoga. Like yesterday, we were celebrating Gaur Purnima. Everyone was singing, dancing, engaged in some kind of services, either setting up or decoration, chapan bhog, preparation, and many of them prasadam serving, and after that honoring prasadam. So we are fully engaged. That's why it is very easy process. Other processes in Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga, the realization of the Lord, पहले तो बहुत मेहनत करनी पड़ती है. Say for example Jnana Yoga means theoretical knowledge, neti, this one, that one, this one, that. A lot of theoretical analysis, and then the understanding of Supreme Lord comes at last. Even in Dhyana Yoga, the process of yoga which this Rishi was sitting, That is also very hard, because when you follow do's and don'ts, Yama and Niyama, then Asana, Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, breathing techniques, then Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. When they do the second last stage of Ashtanga Yoga, the second, seventh, which is called Dhyana, then a person realizes Lord in the heart. And then after that, Samadhi, which will be, person will be absorbed in the Lord. And after that, what we will realize? Ki yes, I am a soul, Lord is there, and then I have to start the devotional service. So the devotional service, jo seva ka bhav hai, engaging senses in the service of the Lord, that comes last or the later stage. While in Bhakti Yoga, what happens? Neophyte stage. Pehle din se, our senses are engaged in the service of the Lord. So Prabhupada writes, there are three processes, but Bhakti Yoga is there. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Dhyana Yoga is mentioned. First six chapter we say Karma Yoga, but the fifth or sixth chapter, Krishna mentions Dhyana Yoga. And what happens when Krishna explains the whole process? Arjun finds it very difficult. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. I can't control my mind. I can't. This path you have chalked out. It seems very difficult. So then, how does Krishna respond? 6.47, the last verse of the sixth chapter, and then seventh Bhakti Yoga starts. So six Yogi Nam api sarvesham. There are many different kinds of Yogi Nam api sarvesham. Madgate ranta. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam. Samay yukta tamo mataha. That one who is engaged in devotional service, Uttam, that is the topmost of the yoga. So Krishna also confirms that in Bhagavad Gita. Right now, these days, what is happening? This yoga, the word yoga or the principle of yoga has become a fashion to become fit, to look fit. People go to the gym, or I go to the yoga sessions. It helps me to keep calm mind and good fit body. So that why people want shanti or calm mind and fit body? Because they can enjoy sense gratification. So complete word of yoga, because of the Kali Yuga, has been the postures, the asanas, the different angas of the Ashtanga Yoga, which is part of Dhyana Yoga, to attain the Lord, that aspect is gone, and people want to look more fit and handsome or beautiful. They do go for yoga because that postures exercise. The asanas will make a person fit. But why that fitness? Because if a person is fit, he can do the service of the Lord, he can realize the Lord. But here, the person in Kali Yuga, especially the yoga centers in the Western world or even in India these days, people do yoga so that they are fit and they can do sense gratification. They look good, they can attract the opposite sex, and they can have sense gratification. And that is the reason why people do yoga these days. But here, the king saw Samika Rishi in the ashram that he is in a deep yogic trance. That is the meditative, that is for the Supreme Lord. The king saw the sage. Let's see what happens, 27. And Nirvin Prabhu. याद रखना हम आश्रम में बैठे हैं अभी.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम. हरे कृष्णा डियर डिवोटीज, दंडवत प्रणाम. श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय. विप्रकीर्ण जटाच्छन्नं रौरवेण जिनेन च विशुष्यत् तालुरुदकं तथा भूतम् अयाचत.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The sage in meditation was covered by the skin of a stag, and long compressed hair was scattered all over him. The king, whose palate was dry from thirst, asked him for water. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. So in ashram, where we are sitting in our journey of Srimad Bhagavatam, we see that the sage is sitting in meditation and is covered by the skin of a stag, means deer. And then he has scattered long hair. And unke samne kaun khada hai? The king, Parikshit Maharaj, is standing in front of him. And the king is feeling thirsty. He is asking for water. He is asking to water to the sage.
The gardener is here, but maybe eating lunch.
Puja,
Because I see a truck outside.
Mute, please.
I see his truck outside.
Sorry.
All good, Prabhuji.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, my screen also stopped. All right, so we see here the sage was sitting in meditation, and the king goes there. He looks that how the sage was in deep meditation, scattered hair and covered by the skin of a deer, and the king is feeling very thirsty. He is asking for the water. Prabhupada writes in the purport that it is Lord's arrangement for Srimad Bhagavatam to appear. This is Lord Shri Krishna's arrangement. Sage को ध्यान में ऐसा बैठना, yogic trance, very deep meditation. The king feeling thirsty for the water, asking to the sage for the water. It's all Lord's arrangement. If you practically see, he was a great king. Parikshit Maharaj, a great king. He knows. उनको पता है जब वो देखेगा. King knows that the sage is in a deep meditation. जनरली क्या होगा, ही वुडंट डिस्टर्ब. वी ऑल्सो, अगर कोई हम भक्त के घर पे जाते हैं एंड ए भक्त इज चैंटिंग और डूइंग दैट गायत्री मंत्र और प्रेइंग, वी जनरली डोंट डिस्टर्ब. You know, on our level also we know if a person is meditating, we don't disturb. But here the king is Parikshit Maharaj, Raj Rishi. He knows the sage is meditating. He wouldn't disturb. Or if the king is thirsty and if he wants water, instead of disturbing sage Samika Rishi, he would look around in the ashram. Hermitage में था तो कहीं पे पानी है, tap water है, well है, bucket भरा है, somehow or other he will look around instead of disturbing. We also do that when we go to someone's house for a stay over or something, and if we need a glass of water, for example, you know, if a person is chanting or meditating or taking rest, हम अपनी तरह से ढूंढ लेते हैं ना, we look. So generally what would happen, the king wouldn't disturb the sage because he is a Rajrishi. He knows the sage is in meditation, and even if he wants a water, the king is thirsty, he will look around in the ashram. But here Prabhupada writes in the purport that the situation was completely arranged by the Lord. This was all taken over. This, the whole situation and arrangement was not happening randomly or by Parikshit Maharaj or Samika Rishi. It was all ordained, it was all taken over, planned, organized by Lord. And that's why all these things are very important to understand this particular pastime. Previous few verses and next few verses also we will see. And Prabhupada writes multiple times in the purport that it was arrangement of the Lord, it was will of the Lord, it was ordained by the Lord, it was all taken over by the Lord. Why? Because Srimad Bhagavatam has to appear. Let's see, 28, Radhika Mataji and Preeti can do the translation.
Hare Krishna everyone, Dandavat Pranams. अलब्धा तृणभूमियाधिर असम्प्राप्तार्घ्यसूनृतः अव्ज्ञातम् इवात्मानं मन्यमानश्चुकोपः. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Translation: The king, not received by any formal welcome by means of being offered a seat, place, water, and sweet addresses, considered himself neglected, and so thinking, he became angry.
The king did not receive any formal welcome, neither by seat or place or water or sweet words, sweet addresses. The king Kshatriyas ko ignore करे ना, Kshatriya and Brahmana, we shouldn't ignore Kshatriya and the pure devotees or Brahmana, because उनको कोई ignore करता है बहुत गुस्सा आ जाता है. They become very angry if someone ignores them. And here it is said the king felt that he was ignored, neglected, and that's why he became very angry. That is what mentioned here, because no formal welcome was given. The sage did not welcome. But how can he do? He was meditating. He was in a deep trance. He didn't even know. So because of that, he didn't welcome. No sweet words or smile, or didn't give him a place. The king became very angry. Srila Prabhupada writes, picks up this welcoming, and then he writes in the purport that the law of reception, the first line of the purport, if you see, the law of reception in the codes of Vedic principle states that even if an enemy is coming off home, even if an enemy is received at home, he must be received with all respects. He must be received with all respects. कोई घर पे आता है, अतिथि देवो भव, अतिथि धर्मा. We also see coming, at least from India we know. यहाँ पे तो क्या होता है, at least in Western world, what I have observed, trespassers will be prosecuted. अगर कोई घुस जाता है, if you go to the countryside, they have guns. If they see someone, they keep guns for trespassers. और आजकल भी कलयुग में इंडिया में भी कुत्तों से सावधान, कोई आ गया तो ऐसा बोर्ड बाहर ही मार देते हैं. हाउ कैन समवन इवन एंटर? बट हियर अतिथि देवो भव, अतिथि धर्म प्रभुपाद मेंशंस कि अगर कोई एनिमी भी घर पे आ गया, उसको इतना प्यार से नाइसली स्वीट वर्ड्स, प्लेस, वाटर, समथिंग टू ऑफर, एंड देन द पर्सन विल फॉरगेट दैट ही इज एनिमी. दैट्स हाउ ए पर्सन शुड वेलकम. In the Parbat, Prabhupada likhte hai that once Krishna, Arjun and Bhima went to Jarasandha and they were covered. Jarasandha was enemy. तो उसको fight के लिए गया था. They knew that Pandavas को राजसूय sacrifice करना है. Then they have to conquer all the kings. But Jarasandha didn't surrender. To win Jarasandha was necessary for the Pandavas to complete the Rajasuya sacrifice. And Jarasandha captured many kings as well, 1,000 kings for sacrifice. So what happened? Arjun goes, Krishna and Bhima also goes along with to Jarasandha to conquer him. But Jarasandha is very strong, and the Arjun, Bhima and Krishna, they were dressed as Brahmanas. Jarasandha को पता चल गया, they are Kshatriyas, they are not Brahmanas, even though they have covered identity. But it is mentioned that Jarasandha welcomed them so nicely. After that, of course, he chooses Bhima to fight because of the strength, and the rest is history. But the point here is, even though Jarasandha knew this is the code of Vedic welcoming, in the Vedic civilization, that's how welcoming is done. Even if an enemy comes, अच्छी तरह से they welcome him. Either if nothing is there, even if a poor person is there, if he can't offer anything, at least sweet words दे सकते हैं. कुछ प्रसादम या offer नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन smile, sweet words we can offer. So even though the Jarasandha knew that these Pandavas, they were disguised as Brahmanas, but they are Kshatriyas, but he welcomed. In scriptures, another story comes of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami's father borrowed some money from some jamindar or some person. He borrowed some money and he wasn't able to repay. And the situation became very tense. And once what happened, that person who lended the money, he came at home to ask the return of that money to Rupa Goswami's father. Rupa Goswami's father was not at home at that time. But the boy, Rupa Goswami, spoke to that person few minutes only, so nicely, so politely. The person forgave all the debt. He said, don't worry about paying back, because you have such a nice boy, cultured boy, Brahmana quality boy, and he's speaking so nicely, so sweetly. He said, don't worry about returning the money. So this is what Prabhupada is writing, the code of Vedic welcoming, that even if an enemy comes at home, we welcome so nicely that the person forgets that he is an enemy. Here, the king is a great devotee of the Lord, and Prabhupada writes in the purport also that the sage, Samika Rishi, is also great devotee of the Lord, is on an equal platform of the king. So, Prabhupada likhte hai ki the merciful Lord sometimes creates such awkward positions for his pure devotee in order to drag them towards himself from the mire of material existence. Outwardly, the situations appear to be frustrating for the devotees, but it is Lord's mercy that the awkward position has been given. Here, Parikshit Maharaj is becoming angry to the sage. To Brahman के सामने गुस्सा होना, उस पे गुस्सा दिखाना. Here it is said, Prabhupada says, this is Lord's mercy to create this awkward position for the pure devotee. क्यों? To drag the devotee himself, to drag the devotees towards himself in the mire of material existence. Material misery से बचाने के लिए भगवान ये सब करते हैं. Can anyone remember where same line Prabhupada writes? This is Lord's mercy to put the devotee in this situation, so the Lord drags the devotee himself in the mire of material existence. We have seen in Srimad Bhagavatam couple of months back, when Narad Muni pastime comes and the mother a 5-year-old boy, and the mother dies of a snake bite. Same line Prabhupada repeats there. It is the Lord's merciful arrangement to drag the devotees towards Him. Situations may appear frustrating, but this is Lord's arrangement. Prabhupada क्या लिखते हैं देखो, the devotees of the Lord are always under the protection of the Lord. The devotees of the Lord are always under the protection of the Lord in any condition. Frustration है, success है, any condition they are there. भगवान अपने पास बुलाते हैं. See, Bali Maharaj, if you see the past time, he had everything. All the king of all three worlds. Bali Maharaj had everything. But Krishna came and took everything. Lord came and took everything. अगर कुछ चला जाता है, if something is gone, that is a blessing of the Lord for devotees. In material life, what happens? If we get something, we think भगवान का आशीर्वाद हुआ, ये मिल गया. But in devotees' life, what happens? Something is gone, and if we can come closer to the Lord, that is blessings of the Lord. Very, very simple example is given, just like a child playing with a teddy bear. Teddy bear है छोटा सा, खेलता रहता है 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, and the mother comes and she snatches the teddy bear away and puts somewhere else. And then why? The child cries. Oh, my teddy bear, you put it away. And the child cries, but the mother starts playing. अभी खाने का टाइम हो गया है, mother starts feeding, starts playing with him, taking him outside in the park and giving him more loving exchanges. But mother starts reciprocating loving exchanges to the child. So the child forgets the teddy bear, and teddy bear क्या देगा? छोटा सा teddy bear, how can the teddy bear can do loving exchanges with the child? But the mother can do, and taking care, like feeding and everything, mother can do. In the same way, Bali Maharaj का सब कुछ snatch हो गया. That's like a teddy bear for Bali Maharaj. It's just like a teddy bear. वो क्या देगा? But the Lord Himself. वो है ना, तव चरणामृत दिया विषया बोलिए, तव चरणामृत दिया, भगवान का जो आशीर्वाद चरणामृत दिया विषया बोलिए. The whole material, the desires, material world for the devotee is gone because the Lord. बलि महाराज के साथ क्या हुआ? पूरा तीनों लोग ले लिया, लेकिन the Lord became his doorkeeper. He's with him, started loving exchanges, reciprocation. So this is what a learning point from this verse is, that if something goes, it happens to us, the situations, if that situation gives us the opportunity to go closer to the Lord, that is Lord's blessing. Materially, people think some progress, material success happens, that means more sense gratification, and that means blessing of the Lord. But in the spiritual path, in the life of the devotees, even if something goes away, if whatever happens, if that creates the opportunity for us to come closer to the Lord, that is the blessing of the Lord. Completely opposite in the life of non-devotees or the devotees. What is blessing of the Lord? What is the understanding? So we see from this here, Prabhupada explains very nicely. Text number 29. Who is doing? किसने दिया रहा है? भूल गया मैं. अभी तो मैं आश्रम में हो गया समीक ऋषि के. अभी मैं जूम में नहीं हूँ. Puja Mataji, you want to do?
Yes, Prabhuji.
And Krishna Prabhu, you can do translation.
Hare Krishna, text 29. Abhutapurvah sahasa shutru bhyamardhitatmanah brahmanam pratyabhut brahman matsaro manyurevacha.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O Brahmanas, the circumstances having distressed him with extreme hunger and thirst, the king directed towards the sage his anger and envy, which he had never before directed towards a Brahmana. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So here, the king's anger and envy, which was directed towards the Brahmana sage, which was unprecedented. Why? Here we see that Maharaj Parikshit, he become angry, envious to the sage, to the Brahmana. ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई general population or a citizen है. ये तो sage है, rishi है, Brahmana है. It was undoubtedly unprecedented. It is mentioned here. We have seen the glories of Parikshit Maharaj before. How great king he was. the grandfather, the Pandavas, the inheritance, the qualities of the Pandavas he was ruling with, and he was always protecting the citizen. Kali ko bhi bacha liya. When Kali surrendered, he said, "It's as a king, it's my duty to protect." And he was protecting the welfare of all the citizens. And top of that, as a Raj Rishi, as a king, he knew exactly that even for the punishment, the jurisdiction of the punishment, उसमें से children, old men, woman and sage, ये चार लोग, children, old men, women and brahmanas or the sages, they are outside of the jurisdiction of punishment. So it for a normal person फिर भी ठीक है, लेकिन यहाँ पे तो ब्राह्मण था, ये चार लोग, the king knew that these four are outside of the jurisdiction, but even to the brahmana he still got angry. He still because of the thirst he shows his anger and envy. How is it possible? Prabhupada writes, दो बार लिखते हैं इसके परमट में, it is the will of a lord, it was ordained by the lord. क्षत्रियाज राज परीक्षित महाराज वॉज क्षत्रिय किंग, राज ऋषि, उनको तो ट्रेनिंग दिया गया है. इधर यहाँ पे भी मिलिट्री में ट्रेनिंग देते हैं, हाउ टू स्टे विदाउट वाटर फॉर फ्यू डेज, और वेरी हार्श ट्रेनिंग. इन दोज डेज इट इज सेड द किंग्स यूज्ड टू बी trained in such a way they can stay without water for 25 days, because sometimes the युद्ध होता है, कुछ करना पड़ेगा, the situation may come. So they are trained to be how to handle fatigue, how to handle thirst, how to handle hunger, all this. And kshatriya Raja Parikshit Maharaj, he was trained for that, but he still feels and he gets angry, he gets envious for the to the sage. So Prabhupada writes, it is the will of a Lord, it was ordained by the Lord. ये भगवान का प्लान है. It is said that if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. भगवान बोलते हैं मेरा सब प्लानिंग है, मैंने सब प्लानिंग बना दिया है. We come with our own plan, and Krishna smiles. We had planned, all of us sitting here, as most of us going out of our home country, India छोड़ के ऑस्ट्रेलिया में आते हैं. We had our plan to become materially successful, get settled, to get married and have a partner or wife or husband, whatever. We had our plans to have settled in life and have successful material prosperous life. But Krishna looks at the sincerity and the desire at the core, deep bottom of the heart. And then Krishna picks, somehow or other, Krishna makes us connection with the devotee. कहीं भी कैसे भी करके devotee के साथ connection बना दिया. Some kind of little friendship. Out of inquisitiveness, we go to the temple or some program, and then we end up in listening Srimad Bhagavatam classes every day morning. This is Lord's plan. हमारा plan था. How many of you, tell me honestly, कि आज से 10 साल पहले सोचा था कि मैं हर रोज सुबह भागवतम का पूरा प्लान करके मैं पढ़ूंगा, डिवोटीज के साथ संग में बैठ के एवरीडे मॉर्निंग आई विल रीड श्रीमद् भागवतम. हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू कॉन्शियसली प्लान्ड लाइक दैट? Maybe few rare souls. I didn't. I came to Australia for completely different reasons. But somehow or other, Krishna is so merciful. He looks at the sincerity somewhere in the heart, out of our agyat sukruti, gyat sukruti, something we would have done to benefit the devotees. And then Krishna picks up that and then makes this plan. So this happens by the plan of Krishna. Somehow he will send a devotee in our life to give us which is the highest, topmost benefit for us. Krishna will award us that. This is the will of the Lord. Okay, last one, number 30. Kaun karega? Who wants to do? Aditi Mataji, you can do. And then Anu Mataji can read.
Hare Krishna. Text number 30. सातु ब्रह्म शरीरम से गतासुम ऊरगम रुषा विनिर्गच्छन् धनुष्कोट्या निधाया पुरमागत. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Translation. While leaving the king, being so insulted, picked up a lifeless snake with his bow and angrily placed on angrily placed it on the shoulder of the sage. Then he returned to his palace.
बाप रे, ऐसा कोई करता है क्या? और वो भी ऋषि के सामने. Who can do this? He didn't give water. He didn't welcome nicely. The king, before leaving, जाने से पहले क्या करता है? Being so insulted. अगर if someone, any one of you, if you are mentally in the ashram of Samika Rishi, and you can be scared of looking at dead snake. अरे shoulder पे डाल दिया Samika Rishi के shoulder पे. Being so insulted, he picked up a lifeless snake, dead snake, with his bow angrily placed on the shoulder of the sage, and then he returned to his palace. So the king is going out of the ashram now. He picked up a lifeless snake. Here the king thought, Prabhupada writes, tit for tat. He didn't do good cold welcoming. It was a cold welcoming. So the king thought of treating him as a tit for tat. Generally, the king will never do such things. But again, Prabhupada writes in the purport 2 times, it is the will of the Lord. Pehle bhi likhte hai, last line bhi likhte hai. It is the will of the Lord that Parikshit Maharaj gets angry, puts up a dead snake. Samika Rishi did not respond. So we'll see when it unfolds after king is going back from the ashram. Abhi kya hoga aage? We will see tomorrow. Very beautiful. पास्ट टाइम. नेक्स्ट पर्पट प्रभुपाद पूरा कहानी बता देते हैं पर्पट में 31 में. तो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, हाउ द ब्राह्मणस बॉय विल फाइंड आउट, हाउ ही विल कर्स, एवरीथिंग प्रभुपाद राइट्स. व्हाई? बिकॉज द भागवतम हैज टू अपीयर. सो ब्यूटीफुल. ऑलराइट, आई विल स्टॉप एट 30. वी विल स्टार्ट एट 31 टुमारो. Additions, points, realizations.
Probably can I mention in our earlier reading of this or hearing this story, we get very popular story, Parikshit Maharaj and the Rishi and the snake and all that episode. We had heard always that it was all because of the influence of the Kali, because the Kali he was given the shelter of the place in a gold where there is gold, and Rishi was the Maharaj Parikshit was wearing the crown. And because of that crown, gold crown, all, and then influence was on him. Before he was king, and he was not affected by the influence of Kali, but because of that gold and because of that crown, that's why it was all explained in that line. But interesting that Prabhupada doesn't even mention that part. He always says that it's a providence of the Lord and will of the Lord. So that's what I noticed probably.
Yes. Prabhupada never mentions that. So the Vaishnava Acharyas, Prabhupada writes in the next purport also, you will see Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. Prabhupada mentions many Acharyas and commentaries, and every Jiva Goswami Prabhupada quotes, and in next purport only I think he quotes, and he says it was will of the Lord, it was ordained of the Lord. Parikshit Maharaj is a pure devotee. He cannot be influenced by Kali. No, because he is a pure devotee. Imagine where this Kali will influence those who are breaking the rules, 4 regulative principles and hoarding of the gold. Parikshit Maharaj was a pure devotee. He was not hoarding. As a king, he had a treasure, but utilizing that for the welfare of the people, so that they are spiritually elevated. So he was not hoarding for his own sense gratification, because he was a pure devotee. So matter of Parikshit Maharaj influenced by Kali? Absolutely not. And that's why Prabhupada doesn't mention, Vaishnava Acharyas doesn't mention. Until now, that is what my reading says. Yeah. But if you find somewhere Prabhupada quoting, then I would accept it.
प्रभु जी, आश्रम में तो बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं, तो कोई और भी वेलकम नहीं करने को था क्या वहां पर?
That is what is mentioned. No one else was there. Yeah, because he was there alone. And that's why Parikshit Maharaj was not welcomed. Dhyana yoga is the first thing. If you see in Bhagavad Gita also, Ashtanga yoga, Dhyana yoga, Jhana, go to a secluded place. Krishna tells to Arjuna, go to a secluded place where there is no disturbance and sit in the asana, and then with eyes half closed, half open, you start meditating. So the first step of yoga is to go to a secluded place where there is no disturbance. Hum kahan jayenge secluded place? So here that matches that he was alone meditating. Anyone else? Additions, realizations? This is very great point, dear devotees. अपने life में कुछ frustration होता है, कुछ होता है, but it is arrangement of the Lord to bring us closer to Him. Some unexpected situations, awkward positions, frustrating situations, but it is Lord's opportunity for us to bring closer to Him. Very good point here.
But Prabhu, sometimes it could happen that हम कुछ गलत कर रहे हैं, हम उसको हम like जैसे कुछ हमने गलत किया है ना,
Correct. Yes.
जैसे इस केस में
Yes.
like गलत तो हुआ है ना,
Yes.
हम but of course Parikshit Maharaj has not put it to will of providence, will of Krishna, but हम लोग तो ऐसे है ना प्रभु कि हम लोग कहीं अरे ये तो कृष्णा की वजह से हुआ है, like Krishna wanted me to do
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yes.
So
So
ये
we
we
also
have to be careful with that.
we also can do, sorry, 1 minute बाकी है इसलिए I am rushing. Your question is we also may be doing something wrong, and that's why the answer is we need to be in association of devotees. भक्तों के साथ रहेंगे तो हमें पता चलेगा कि either we are doing wrong or is it it is the will of the Lord. And even if we do wrong, भरत महाराज के केस पे वो डियर के साथ अटैच हो गया. If it is said if he was along with the devotee संग में होंगे तो भरत महाराज को बोलते भाई डियर के साथ अटैच मत हो, हमें भगवान से क्या अटैच करना है. But he was not in the association of devotees at that time. So that's why अपने भी कुछ गलती हो जाती है. But if we are with association of devotees, they will correct us, they will save us, and they will put us back on the track. Does that answer, Aruna Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Sometimes we get attached to devotees as well, Prabhu.
That is good. Devotee said, Prabhupada के disciple बोल रहे थे, we are not attached to Krishna, we are attached to you, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, that's fine. Because Prabhupada will go back to Krishna, the devotees go back to Krishna. The devotees attachment is approved. 100% granted. For progress in Bhakti. Yeah. Not becoming attached for sweets and rasmalai and other things. चलो ओके. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. जगत गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Have a lovely
Thank you,
day.
everyone.
Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna devotees.
Hare Krishna,
Dandavat
everyone.
Pranam.